So, welcome guys to Rage Against the Dice. Today is the, for some, long-awaited painting tutorial on how to do Davros from the Exterminate Doctor Who miniatures game, or Doctor Who Into the Time Vortex, and it comes specifically in the Davros and Dalek set. I've also got another one coming out for Missy, who you can just see in the background there, so you can see that I haven't painted it yet. These are our spare set, and it's to show you how to paint them up quickly, as people have asked how you do it. Normally when I say, our long-awaited videos, it's joking, but on this occasion we have had a lot of people requesting it. I did say I was going to do it, and ever since I said we were going to do it, life's pretty much kicked me in the ear, metaphorically. I've just had one thing after another to do, so I haven't managed to get it done. So this is the model in question. I'm trying a new light setup now, so I don't know how it's going to pay off, but we'll see. So this is the Davros in question, as you can see. First he was spray undercoated black using Army Painter matte black spray. And then I just gave him a very light coat all the way with Vallejo's black. I cannot speak today. I do apologise, guys. I've been full of cold and stuff. But yeah, he was coated with Vallejo's undercoat in a bottle, just to make sure that all the undersides were missed. One thing I will say, and it's something I've never ever thought of, but one of the gentlemen from the Doctor Who Facebook group for this particular game gave me a really good idea, which is when you spray your models, spray them upside down so you get the undersides. I feel really silly not knowing this, but in like the 20 odd years of me hobbying, 22 I think we're at now, 23, something like that. In all that time, I've never ever thought to do that. I've worked for Games Workshop, I've worked for independent stockists, I've worked for companies doing commission painting, and at no point did it ever cross my mind to do that. It was such a good idea. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, because you guys don't want to hear my feelings with undercoating, you want to hear how to paint. So as always, every colour I use, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to try and keep it as mainly dry brushes, like I did last time, just so, you guys can get a feel of how things go. As you can see over here, I tend to have most of my paint set up ready and lined up. And that's purely just so I can get to things easy. As I said, I'm working with a new setup here. This isn't how I would normally paint, but I'm going to try and make the most of it. So I'm starting, now that it's black, I'm going to dry brush the whole thing with Eshen Grey, which is a Games Workshop layer paint. I'm going to do this using a Games Workshop medium dry brush. But I'll always just mix it up first with a random paint. So for this I'm going 1 part water, and then I'm going 1 part paint. If you don't want to use water, you can use medium. And there's a Games Workshop medium, there's a Vallejo medium. Both work perfectly fine. As I said, this is going to be by no means a masterclass. I'm going to take more time on my other Davros. This is to show you how to paint it quickly and have it looking, what I would say, classes above tabletop ready. So get your dry brush, take all the excess off. I use the back of my hand, because my skin's absorbent. You can use some tissue paper. You can use anything really that's got a surface that it can go to. And then all I'm doing is dry brushing the whole model. And I'm not being too careful with it. I am being careful to try and block out the light, but I'm seemingly unsuccessful. You wouldn't believe I have multiple lamps on me now. It feels like I'm on holiday. It's so warm. But I just can't seem to get that lighting right for the purposes of the videos. I'm going to end up needing to get one of those stupid cameras that goes on the back of your head or something ridiculous like that. Not the back of your head. That would be stupid. Like, on top of your head. Like the GoPros or things like that. So, again, I'm just giving it one dry brush everywhere. As I said, I'm not trying to be too faint with it for this one, because we can use the washers to bring it back up. Davros, another go there. He's loving it, bless him. Now, the detail on this model is fantastic. I didn't do an unboxing video of the Davros and the Missy sets. It's something I'm definitely going to come back to, though, and do another one of. Like I said, we've got more than this one set. And it was just because at the time I was too excited to get it opened and played with. Like a big child. So then all we're going to do straight away, once that's dry, is we're going to take our Nuln Oil or any kind of black wash or black shade if you don't use the Games Workshop range. As I always say with these, I use the Games Workshop range because that's the one that's most easily accessible to people. So I tend to do any painting tutorials we do, same when I do painting tutorials and painting lessons for friends and stuff. I'll always do it with Games Workshop paints because they're the ones that people can get their hands on the easiest. And it's important to use, for this stage, just the Nuln Oil, not the Nuln Oil gloss. I know the main painting tutorial that people wanted to see was the Missy one. But as I said, I'm going to get both done in the day, and I want to get them both up at the same time or within a few hours of each other. So even if you were waiting for the Missy one, you'll get that, shortly thereafter. It's not a case that you're going to have to wait days. So again, that's it chipped. I don't know what's wrong today. Yeah. As you can see though, a nice set of undercoat, and it's not chipped or anything like that. So we're going to leave that to dry. While we leave that to dry, I'm going to go clean my brushes and get ready for the next step. I just quick. There he is, Davros. So that's kind of what he would look like. He's still wet, so he's still got that bit of a shine to him, but we're going to leave that for another stage, and then we'll come back to it, and we'll do the next step. The next step is to do all the silver bits, and we're doing that with a paint called Lead Belcher, which is the old bolt gun metal from Games Workshop. And you can use any kind of bolt gun paint or anything like that. But we'll leave this to dry, and we'll come back with the next stage. Back in a moment, guys. So now that's bit as dried as you can see, what we're going to do next is we're going to touch up the bit where I did drop it. And I thought we were fine and we haven't got any chips, but it does look like there was 1 or 2 chips, but that's okay. You just get your Abaddon black, Chaos black, whichever black you're using for whichever manufacturer. It's your base coat style black. And I'm just going to touch that up. I can always go and highlight that bit, and I'm just checking. There's actually a few bits that weren't ideal. And that's a good thing when you're at this early stages. It's easy enough just to touch up these bits. And so I'm just picking out these bits. Now, if you haven't stuck it to a base, and I usually stick it to like a plinth or something, I don't know why I haven't with this. I think I'm actually going to attach it to something. I noticed I didn't do it with the Dalek and such ones. I wanted to keep it really basic, like you can do this at home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something that people will have lying around the house. I don't find these Games Workshop paint pots are very good for it. Other paint manufacturers have really good pots that you can stick something to. When you do it, you just get a bit of blue tack, stick it under, stick it on that. So I'm going to go find something. As I said, normally I wanted to keep the video so it's like, I can paint this stuff around the house. Because this is not a base, it's going to keep getting chipped. So I'll be back in a moment, plinth that up, and then we can get back to it. So there, that's better. What I've gone with is I've got some secret weapon pigment pots, and I've just gone with that. As I said, normally I would use something, you can get special plinths, and they're made by, I think Red Beam Designs do one. TTCombat, I believe, do them. There's a couple of other companies out there who do them. But I wanted to show just what you can do around the house. So just any kind of pot like this, and it's just blue tacked on. You can even see the blue tack down there. And I'm just picking up the bits that have chipped before we move any further. So there, we're at a good stage now, I think. I say that. This seems farcical, but no, we'll move on. We'll get back to it. So, as I was stating, the next stage is the lead belcher stage. Now with Davros, it's the console bit around him, the seat bit at the back, and then kind of the shoulder bits that are the main areas for that. Now, I'm using a medium Citadel base brush. You can use, any brush that you would normally use. Again, I have a fondness for the Winsor & Newtons. I also quite like using the Army Painter ones. So I've got my lead belcher here, and I'm just, the whole console area, just picking it all out. And where possible, I'm sticking as close to the box art as I can, or the website art. And we've got some foliage. So you can see it's not all dry brushing. Life would be so much easier if everything was just all dry brush. You can pick the seat out. Trying to be as careful as you can. Now normally I would give this 2 coats. I'm not going to film both coats because you get the idea. But you just pick up around all those silver bits and then follow the console. Alright, so I'm going to give this another coat and then we'll come back to it and you can see where we're at. So we're back and we're kind of at this stage now. You can see the silver, you can see I haven't done the headpiece. The reason being is I'm going to do all the skin together and then I'm going to pick out the headpiece at the end. The next thing we do is we're going to cover the whole model from head to foot in Nuln Oil again. The reason, you're probably thinking, well, why did I need to do it before? Because I wanted the black base stuff to have 2 coats of the Nuln Oil. So I thought I'll do 1 coat now and then I'll do another once I've done the metal. And I suppose it doesn't make a difference, it's just how I like to work. I'm finicky and I like to work in certain ways. So again, with this I'm just using a bigger brush. You can buy special wash brushes. I'm using an Army Painter massively battered brush. It's the one I use for washing tanks and stuff usually. Like model tanks, not real tanks. I don't even know why I said that. No one was suspecting. So again, you just coat every inch of the model. If it needs it, you can give it a second coat. Like a third coat, of black all the way around. Just to get the metal to the preference you like it. I find it doesn't need it. Especially because our next step is going to be to add the Nuln Oil gloss. So I try to keep it as few steps as possible, but certain ways I paint require certain steps. If you feel that you can miss any steps out and get the same results, that's absolutely fine. again, the important thing to know is to let that dry fully. Make sure you clean your brushes properly. Now, a lot of people have been asking about regards to how I do water and things like that. I have 3 glasses of water, or 3. I actually use the lids from spray cans. So if you buy the Games Workshop Purity Seal, for instance, you get a clear tub kind of lid. I use 3 of those, and I'll have 1 for cleaning my brushes, 1 for cleaning metallics, so if I've been working with metals, and then a 3rd which I use purely for mixing purposes. It means I don't have to change it as often, because as soon as you put a brush that's had metal on into the water, all the pigment goes into the water, and so you need to change it. So it just breaks things up, makes things a little quicker and easier for you. As you'll also hear, I also put a ball bearing in a lot of my paints to help mix them. It was something I read online. I can't remember who. I'd love to be able to quote the source. I just read it in a random article once, and it works really, really well. You can get ball bearings from a load of different places. I actually got mine from an old desk when we were taking it apart. It was just the drawer slidey bit. Had loads in. But you can buy ball bearings. Anyway, so we're going to leave that to dry, and then the next thing we're going to do is a non-oil gloss, and that's going to be over the whole model. Yeah, so we're back in a second. So we are back, and that is dry. We're now going to give it a non-oil gloss. And again, with this, I'm not going to use it on his body, but I am going to use it on the travel machine, his little Dalek-y pie itself. Remember to shake these really, really well. And again, I would normally mix it, but you can, with the gloss, use it straight out the pot, which is what I'm doing. So, as I said, I'm showing sort of basic practices, not necessarily how I would paint it if I was going for, taking my time, making it the best it can be. We're going for, an above tabletop standard. Yeah, all over the console. Like when I paint silver, I tend to do it over 4 or 5 steps. I work my way from bolt gun all the way up to Stormhost silver. And I've always done it that way. And I probably always will. But I'm going to show you just a couple of steps here. Just to make things a bit easier. So there you go. So we're going to leave that again to dry. It's just the travel machine and the bits around him, the supports. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to highlight the silver. As I said, normally I would do this over multiple steps, working my way from the darker silver of bolt gun all the way down to this one as a light base. For this, I'm only going to do 3 steps. So I'm going to go lead belcher, and then I'm going to go the equivalent of chainmail, which I believe is Runefang silver. Let me just double check. I have a really good chart. Games Workshop posted it once, and it's like a conversion chart. I find it really, really helpful because I'm super old, and I have been using Games Workshop paints for an obscenely large amount of time. So, I still say Goblin Green. No, so it's Ironbreaker is the next. I'm going to go Lead Belcher, Ironbreaker, and then I'm going to do my final ones in the Stormhost Silver. So we're going to let that dry, then we're going to come back and do the next bit. Once we finish the silver, we're going to do the balls, the little domey bits on the base, and then we're going to come across to the face, because that's the bit people have been asking about, how to get that skin colour or skin tone. And that's the bit we're going to focus on mainly. But there you have it so far. There's the little fella. Let's zoom in. Look at him there. Looks ready to demand people exterminate. But yeah, I'm going to be back in a moment, and we can get this shindig underway, as it were. So we've got to this kind of stage now, that is dry. I used the hairdryer just to finish it off, mainly because of laziness. And I can't seem to get this light to be perfect, so I'm just going to roll with it. Next thing we use is Iron Breaker, and I'm using, to start with, the small Games Workshop dry brush. I'm going to mix this up as 1 part water, 1 part paint. I tend to do that for dry brushing, and then for just base coating and highlighting and stuff, I tend to go 2 paint, 1 water. Oh, sorry, 2 water, 1 paint. So all I'm doing now, as you can see there, is I'm just picking everything out. I'm just going to go across and do that all across the silver. So I'm just moving it around, and I'm just picking up the details. As I said, I want the bolt gun to still shine through, or the lead belcher. As you can see, super old. Still call them by their old names. Right, so that's the console. And we've got that around there. I'm just going to see if I can get the camera to a better angle so you can see what we've done. I'll also give it its second coat. And then I'm going to use a smaller brush, and I'm not going to dry brush, but I'm going to pick out the shoulder pads because I don't want to be getting silver on the black we've already done. So I'm going to sort this out. I'm back in a second. So yeah, we're back. And I've got a medium base brush. And again, I'm still rubbing off a lot of the excess paint, as if I was dry brushing it, and I'm just picking that out there. And I'm going around some of the areas that I couldn't get to with a dry brush, and I'm just picking them out. What I also like to do is I like to just make sure by getting the edges and just like that around the whole thing. Any raised area. It's kind of like an edge highlighting, but really it's not an edge highlight. But yeah, so there you go. We've now got that to that stage, and I think it's looking quite nice. You can tell straight away, obviously it's Davros. You can see there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go straight in with the Stormhost Silver. Now with this I would mix it up to water to 1 paint. And I'm just going to catch it. Being very light. I'm just picking out those raised areas. Again, I'm not the god that is Duncan. But I will suggest, you know, multiple coats. Picking that up, being as neat as possible. So that's where we're at. And we're now ready to start picking out these little balls. I mean, I'm happy enough with that as a tabletop standard. So yeah, as I said, we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to pick out the balls, and for that I'll be using Wolflock Bronze and then Sycorax Bronze, similar to how I did some of the metal work on some of the Daleks. I still think that was what I did. I painted so many Daleks in so many different styles. I think that's the ones I did for the Dalek video. I do actually think, because we've got a WordPress and it's always linked in the thing below, I am going to put up the instructions on how to paint a Dalek using the colour scheme and stuff that I use, because you know, we got a lot of good response about it, a lot of good feedback, but a lot of people were saying, can you, you know, just post up a list of the paints you used and the steps you used. So, you know, watching the video once or twice is fine, but if I want to recreate it over and over again, I don't want to have to watch your video every time. So that's something we will do, and when it's done, we'll probably throw it up on the Facebook group, and we'll probably address it in a video as well. But anyway, I'm going to leave that to dry, and obviously I'm going to give it a second coat. If you want to, you're more than welcome to when you're painting your own. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's that simple. But yeah, back in a second, guys. So this is where we're at with Davros now. You can see where we've just done the dry brushes. It's picked out just the top bits, and the rest it's left where the wash and things were. If you get to a stage where you think maybe you've gone a bit too heavy-handed with the Storm Host and it's looking a bit shiny, a little watered down, so 2 parts medium, 1 part non-oil gloss, over the top of just the console bit should really sort of pop it back out again. Once we add the details and stuff on there anyway, it will look a bit different. But now we're on to the bit on a Dalek I absolutely despise. And it's not Warlord's fault, it's on a Dalek, there's no way to really get around it, and that's the balls. I'm using Warplock Bronze, and I'm mixing a 1 part Warplock, 1 part water, because I find Warplock's a bit watery anyway. You can replace water with medium as always. And I'm using the small base brush for Games Workshop. I like Games Workshop brushes, more so their older ones, but I do find that they're not as sort of good quality as they once were. So you just go around and you just pick them all out. What I'm going to do is, because this is a time-consuming process, I'm just going to do the first 4 on camera, and then I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to come back and show you what it's like once I've done them all. Because once you've seen 1 or 2, you've basically seen all of them. So you're just picking it up. There's no shortcuts with this, unfortunately. There you have it. Some people like to do Davros's ball bit silver, and that's okay. All you do is you repeat the steps that you did on the console from there. So I'm going to stop that video now, and I'm going to finish off the balls, give them 2 coats. It is really important with Warplock Bronze that you give 2 coats. 1 usually isn't sufficient. If you use it straight out the pot, it might be, but you're going to get an uneven finish. So as I said, I would always water it 1 to 1, and I would give it 2 coats. That's not me trying to like imitate other painters or anything like that. It's just genuinely a step I would do. As you guys know, it's relevant. But anyway, be back in a second once it's all done. And then we'll move on to the Sycorax Bronze stage. There's a really cool tip online. I saw it on another video and I really can't remember which one. I'd really love it. If I come across it, I'll pop it in the link below. But they used a small straw. You have to find one that fits over the holes, and then they dip it in the paint and they dip it across, and it works really, really well. I've just run out of straws of the right size, and as I said, I just want to show you how you do it basically with the tools and equipment you have. But as I said, and I wish I could quote who it was because I thought it was a really, really good a tutorial. If I do find it, certainly I'll give them credit and I'll link it in the thing below. It means going through my YouTube history, which is quite vast because my son uses my tablet, and so 90% of my videos are children's like toy unboxing videos. It's a nightmare to try and find anything, but if I can find it, I'll pop it in the link below. But anyway, I'm going to get on with this and shut up babbling now. Back in the sun, guys. So here we have it. We've got 2 coats of Warplock Bronze. When you're doing this, if you have gone over some of the little domey ball things and you have to coat it with, do a little highlighter black, that's absolutely fine. Luckily, black's really forgiving for stuff like that. It doesn't pick up really well on the camera because of the stupid lighting situation. As I said, I can either have it really good for painting or really, really good for anything else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a second coat, and then we're going to come back to the highlighting stage of it. So bear with me, guys, and yeah, back in a second.